little bit later than normal. Apologies for that. I mistimed making dinner, so I was dishing up basically as it was starting. So I hit pause on the box, and I'm basically 3 minutes behind. So not too bad, not as bad as it could have been, and not as bad as I have been before. So yeah, sorry. I also haven't fully properly set up properly yet. So, if you are, well, if you're watching this live, then you're not here yet. But if you're watching this later on, this is your first time watching one of my live review reactions. I will give you a brief thoughts synopsis idea, what I thought of it, my reactions, without spoiler. Just here's what I thought of the episode, and that's fine to carry on. And if you, for some reason, are watching this without having seen the episode yet, then that's the part you can stay safe at. And then I have this lovely shiny sign that I made. So I will, with the help of my lovely assistant Forks, I will put this up in the side, and then you will know, especially if you're joining later on, if you're on the live show, that we are in the spoiler zone. But as for right now, I'm just going to share my initial thoughts and reactions. And yeah, that one was really good. I have a prop that I was going to grab. Let me just grab it. For now, I'm going to leave the camera where it is. Yeah, short version, I really liked it. It was honestly a lot more emotional than I thought it would be. And I'm not sure why I didn't think it would be emotional. I knew it would be political. And it was political because it was political. It couldn't not be. And I like the way it was handled. No... A tiny little bit at the beginning where they're kind of explaining some bits and pieces. Not preachy, but there were moments that could have come across as a little bit... But that's just to set it up. Because, at the end of the day, this is still a program aimed at a family audience, and a family audience tends to have younger people in it. So for the younger people who may not be aware of who Rosa Parks is, or her significance to the civil rights movement, then yes, it makes sense to have those moments at the beginning where it's like, oh, this is who she is, and this is the world that she exists in. And I think it does that very effectively. And yeah, obviously, again, without getting some spoilers, but it's fairly obvious, yes, Ryan and Yaz kind of have some moments, Ryan especially. It does affect him. He is affected by this. So, hello. Welcome. If you're just joining, we're still in the spoiler-free zone. So if you want to stick around for the spoilers, that's on you. That is your choice. But yeah, basically, I really enjoyed it. I was looking up. Oh, 2 people! Yay! I was trying to look up on IMDb to get the cast list, and I couldn't. I was on IMDb. I was on the page for Doctor Who, but I couldn't actually find the individual episode, like any individual episodes. So I don't know if there's a problem with the browser on here as opposed to looking it up on the computer, or IMDb's changed in a way that you can't look up individual episodes anymore, which is weird. But yes, so yes, if you're just joining, hello, welcome. You're very welcome. I liked it. I really liked it. Acting again was completely, of course, to use an old cliche, fantastic. The guest cast were really... I wish... This is another reason I wanted to try and find the thing on IMDb, because these are actors I didn't necessarily recognise. The bad guy I think I recognise, but I think he might have just looked like someone rather than actually being someone. I'm not saying he isn't someone, I'm just saying that he looks like someone else. I thought he wasn't the person I thought it was, but he just looks a bit like them. I thought he kind of looked a little bit like... I've forgotten his name now. From Sixth Sense, the young actor in that, but it's not him. Because I have seen him he's come out of retirement. He was in an episode of X-Files, and he's a bit older than this actor that was playing the bad guy. and he's put on a little bit of weight. But yeah, the acting was. I would say the Becco was a little bit cheesy. He didn't actually have that many lines considering his actual physical screen time. It was very good with what he had. So the hello. It's further to the past. Oh, that's an interesting thought. We're still in the spoiler-free zone, so we won't get too specific on that just yet. But so yeah, sorry if you are joining me and it's the first time watching these. I'm happy to engage in spoiler chat and discuss your opinions and ideas, but we try and keep that for when we're actually in the official spoiler zone. Thank you. But yeah, I wish I could remember the name of the actress who played Rosa Parks because she was very good. I mean, everyone. I mean, you know, they always pick good actors. You never get a truly bad actor. Robert, you never really get a truly bad actor in Doctor Who. You know, latterly, I mean, there's some fantastic scene chewers in classic Doctor Who. But modern Doctor Who, generally speaking, been a lot better acted. So yeah, what can I say? Non spoiler. It is in Montgomery. It's over a couple of days, and like I said, I found the ending really affecting. I found it really quite touching and moving. So yeah, without getting into the spoilers, I liked it, and I liked the way it was done, and I liked the way it was acted, and I liked the way it was shot. One thing I did notice is it is a Chibnall story, but also written with Mallory Blackman. I haven't read this yet, but I've read the first little bit, like the prologue, and it's like, oh, so it's like they're kind of reversing it. So the I don't know if that picked up with my Twitter. So they kind of, as far as I can tell in this book, it's a black majority, and the whites are suppressed the way that blacks were or have been in history. It looks like an interesting read. I haven't read it yet. But yeah, I noted that she was the co-writer of the episode, and I thought, I thought her first book, or I don't know if this is her first book, or the first book in this series, but it is, the first of this. So yes, I found it. At least it was written by, I assume Ms. Blackman is a lady of color. I really don't know much about her, but I was just like, I know that name. Today's most imaginative and convincing writers for young readers. A children's book received an OBE for services to children. Oh, she's an OBE. Well done. A bit of a national treasure. Yeah, so she's a well-respected author then. Maybe I should actually sit down and read it. Yes, so well shot, beautifully acted. Actually, a story that I genuinely enjoyed. Political in parts, but no more political than you would expect for a story of this nature. And then, like I said, genuinely heartfelt at the end. So, with that said, now we can get into the spoiler zone and get a little bit more specific about some stuff. So, allow me to do that. Grab my Phoenix and pop up our sign. So yeah, we are now. Oh, we've lost some people. That's fine. I tend to ramble on these things. I have noted that I do get a few people watching afterwards. So thank you for those people who tune in and after it's broadcast. You know, for whatever reasons you're not watching it live. I do appreciate you. I do appreciate you checking it out at a later point. So thank you. And also thank you to everyone who has subscribed to me after watching these. It's been quite fun watching my subscriber count go up. So honestly, genuinely thank you. That is really, really sweet of you. So, spoilers! We are officially in the spoiler zone. So, I'll go quickly into the bad guy, because I was originally last week, I thought, oh, okay, so there's alien techie stuff, and I thought, are they the Skimtar? I don't know. I forgot their name again. It's not the same alien race. The shenanigans that happen are not the same. Isn't the same people. So that's fair enough. Uh, the So it is basically, it starts at the big 12 years previous, where Ms. Parks gets onto a bus on the wrong door, and yeah, the driver's an ass to her and says basically you've got to go in this door, and she's like it's full up, and so she goes out and goes around to the door she's supposed to go in, and then of course he closes doors on her and drives off, which is really rude because she did pay for her journey. And then it cuts 12 years later, so it's Montgomery 55, which is when Team TARDIS land, and the Doctor's like, oh, closer. She uses the TARDIS land, and she pops her head out the door and says, we're getting closer. We actually are on Earth now. Don't know where else they've been. She said, well, 9 times. And Graham's like, 14 times. We're not doing this now, Graham. So it's the whole thing of like, oh no, the Doctor's landed in the wrong place again. Is she ever going to get us home? Which is a fun cliche. It's like, yeah, I kind of like that. But so she starts saying, you're doing this on purpose. And Ryan's like, you better not be talking to me. I didn't touch anything. And she said, no, I'm talking to the TARDIS. And then there's an alert on the wall that says, Archer energy. Basically, that isn't the TARDIS. So obviously, someone's having temporal shenanigans. Which is where our bad guy comes in, because he's the guy who's... So I'll talk about the bad guy a little bit. Dang, I'm bad with names. I'm just going to call him... No, that's he's dressed himself up, in typical biker look, leather jacket and things. And we find out he does have a vortex manipulator. So I originally thought, well, is he some kind of rogue time agent? Because they go into the warehouse and find his kit, and one of which is basically a time gun. It's a temporal displacement weapon. So it's an energy blast. You get hit by the energy blast. You're in a path of blue energy, and you get sent to wherever the person set the weapon to. So unlike the Angels, where you only go backwards, this one you can go backwards or forwards. And she says originally that he was sending people to way into the future, and as alluded to by, sorry, I didn't catch your name, he eventually gets sent to the past, which is actually a very interesting point that our friend in the chat made, that if he was sent way into the past, has he screwed up anything else? Depends how far back into the past. Ryan said So I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but Ryan basically said he set the weapon, after the Doctor explained to him how it worked, to the furthest point back that he could. Now, we don't know if that is all of, Earth history, because I'm going to assume that whenever he's in Earth. It's like it's a temporal displacer, not a space-time displacer. So I don't know if that is the beginning of Earth history, which means he's basically landed into primordial soup, sort of, the time of, dinosaurs, in which case he's probably going to get squished, or, the beginning of, Homo sapiens, but not necessarily written history, or is it the beginning of recorded history? What point, how far back does this weapon say you can go? What's the lowest setting that you can put on it? Is it, primordial soup, beginning of recorded history, or points in between? So if it is recorded human history, could he have done some damage? I don't know. But it's an interesting question. I don't think he's a child in time. I don't think that's because he's basically a criminal. We find out he was in Stormcage because he's got a tattoo, which is kind of funky. I don't think River ever had that kind of tattoo on her wrist, but it's like a little wavy form. So apparently we don't know what he did, but 2,000 people were killed. He said no one was injured, but like a couple of people, okay, 100 or so. 1,000 tops, 2,000. Basically, he killed 2,000 people somehow. He did his time, and they put a thing in his neck, which basically meant he can't kill. Which is the whole thing. It's like, oh, why didn't you just kill Rosa Parks? Oh, wait, you can't. So we get this whole thing of like just a one little nudge, one little push. Can time, you can't directly go out and kill Rosa Parks, but can you change things so that she doesn't make the journey? And that was interesting. So yeah, to answer the question, I don't know that if he is going to be affecting history, if that's going to come back around, but it is an interesting question. But his motivation is he is a word I'm not going to say on a review for a show aimed at children, but it begins with C. He basically, when she asks him, the doctor asks him his motivation, he's like, well, this is where it all went wrong. Yeah, I don't know from what point in in the future he's supposed to be from. Being Storm Cage, I mean, maybe like 51st century or somewhere in that era. That's when I think that's when River was from. Well, obviously I don't know how long Storm Cage has existed, but the future. I mean, assuming he's actually human, he might be a humanoid, but not actually human. But the fact he talks about, this is where it all went wrong, regarding Earth history, presumably that means he is at least mostly human. So, thumbs up, thank you. He's basically a white supremacist. There isn't a more direct or polite way of saying it. He wants to change history so that, as he puts it to Ryan later on, I liked it. Thank you, Cadbury. Oh, and Michael, thank you. I now know your name. So Michael was the one who asked about if he's going to be, the time question. So he wants to change history. So as he puts it to Ryan, you folk don't get above your station. Now, this does raise a question, is if this guy is from the future, where's he getting his, white supremacist ideals from? Because, the future isn't idyllic. Nothing we've seen in any... And I admit there's still some classic episodes I haven't seen, but we're talking about a future where... Now, okay, fair enough, there's no evidence that Storm Cage is multi-species, but he is from the future. The Earth is, the humans have gone out and colonized. So the fact he's still sticking to really stupid racial ideals in a future where aliens are a thing. I mean, aliens are a thing in Doctor Who now. They know aliens exist. It's just every time they've been an invasive force. So to still be holding on to this nationalist ideas, this racial idea, and I know a white woman talking about this, but he's going, well, you people, as in persons of colour, talking to Ryan, where is he getting that philosophy from in the future? I don't get it. I mean, it makes for an interesting thing. It's certainly making me think, so it's not a bad thing, but it's like, where is that coming from? In a society that presumably has aliens intermingling, or at least interacting with the human populace. Was that his crime? Was it a hate crime? Killing 2,000 people with 2,000 people of colour? I think these questions are a little bit more interesting than the character himself was. So feel free to either talk now or share thoughts in the comments, because I think that's a discussion. I think that's something that can be talked about. So yeah, speaking of Ryan, going back to the beginning of the episode, so they say, oh, we're in Montgomery, it's the 50s. Graham makes a crack about oh, could I see Elvis? Oh, he's in New York this weekend. And like, you do not have Elvis's, you don't know Elvis, you have his phone number. And she goes, I gave him a mobile, but don't tell anybody. That comes back. There's not just a cheesy throwaway line of, oh, the Doctor knows famous people. Actually, they use that as a plot point. So when either we're like walking down the street, oh, we're in history, this is really amazing, enjoying the moment. Fair enough, you would. I probably would. And a lady, lady and gentleman walking past, the lady drops her, she's a white lady, drops her glove and Ryan, be the nice, helpful young man that he is, picks it up. He says, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me," and it's like gently, just as you would, to get her attention because he's behind her, gently taps her on the arm and said, "I think you've dropped this." And before he can get all this out and say, the husband basically slaps him round. Graham stops any altercation. And he's like, "I was just trying to hand the lady her glove back." "You don't touch a white woman, boy." Oh, God, this episode made me angry. And that's when Miss Parks comes out. And yes, I'm going to keep calling her Miss Parks because she's an extraordinary historical figure that deserves that kind of respect. She basically sorts it all out. Said, "Are these friends of yours?" And like, no, there's no need for all this. She's mediating, saying like, "Look, there's no need to get all Aggie in the street," and being very cool about it. And they all kind of have a fangirl moment. I'll say they, Graham, Yaz, and the doctor obviously recognise the name. Ryan's a little bit, it's like he knows it, but he doesn't know why he knows it. So, but yeah, so that's when they kind of all meet her and have a bit of a moment. It's like, "Oh, you're Rosa Parks," and I'm a big fan. This is the doctor saying this. "I'm a big fan." And like Miss Parks is looking like, "Oh, of Montgomery. I'm really happy to be here." It's because they work out. Okay, so going back to the racist couple. They realize, oh, they've got accents. They're not from around here. Rosa Parks, Miss Parks, makes reference to another young man of presumably of color who came into town, was out of town, and turned up dead. So, do you want that to happen to you, to Ryan? And he's like, "No, ma'am." Like he goes, "No." He said, "Did your mother not raise you with any values?" "No, ma'am." Graham's like, "He's my grandson," and it's a whole thing. So it's this whole interaction and altercation at the beginning, which really does kind of set things up, because at that point they're all just like, "Oh, we're in history," and it's like, "Yeah, you're in racist history." So I think that was a good, strong way of opening it up. And so then we kind of go through. They go get some lunch. And some waitress, they're talking about what happened. Yaz is like, "Don't you remember we were at Rosa Park Form?" So it turns out that Yaz and Ryan's school named certain classes after inspirational people from history, and they were in Rosa Parks. And that's when they fill in the gaps, because he's like, "The bus lady." And like, no, they give him the history, which is where possibly a little bit preachy or whatever, but you're explaining it to a younger audience, and the way they explain it does make sense. It's like, oh, okay, this is what happened, this is who she is, and this is why she's significant. I've lost people. I'm talking to myself at the moment. Cheers. So basically the waitress comes up and says, "We don't serve Negroes here." And Ryan's like, "That's all right, because I don't eat them," which I thought was quite funny. And then she looks at Yaz, "Nor Mexicans." And it's like, "You're talking to me?" So yeah, because it, and as Yaz kind of discusses, she figures there's probably not a huge Asian community at that point, so they just assume from her colouring that she's Mexican rather than Pakistani, which is confirmed. That's where she makes reference to being referred to as Paki. And she refers to herself, she starts kind of going with it and refers to herself as Pakistani Mexican, which is great. It's really cool. So yeah, they're basically, Ryan gets the worst of it, but Yaz does get a little bit as well. They sneak into a motel, like Graham and the doctor obviously go in the front door, and they sneak Yaz and Ryan in the back, and then of course we get a bit more of like, oh, Ryan and Yaz's shared history at school. He makes a comment about she says about being with another boy in the bathroom, and she's like, "Oh, you've just gone down." He's like, "You've just gone down in my estimation." And he goes, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, he was like really punching above his weight." And she's like, "Was that a compliment?" Which is a really sweet moment between them. A police person knocks on the door. So the Doctor and Graham have a moment where they sort of pretend that they're kind of a couple. Graham makes this whole thing about we've come to sell an idea about a phone that lets you play music and calendars and pictures, and it's not. And the officer's like, it's not a very good idea. I said, no. So what's your name, sir? Like, Steve Jobs. Oh, you know what? The Doctor gets some fantastic moments in this because he's like, "Is there any person here that's not supposed to be here?" No, I don't. Like you got like a Negro and a Mexican, or like, no, I don't know anyone by that description. Which fair enough. And she's like, "Oh, there's nobody here that I don't think is meant to be here." She's really being passive, kind of aggressive, like she want to punch him out. But so anyway, there's a moment where as the officer leaves, Graham puts his shoulder on the Doctor's hand on the Doctor's shoulder. It's like, like playing up the idea that they might be some kind of couple. Because to be fair, the Doctor just called him dear at the beginning, and she has a little bit of what, but it's all good. So that happens. I'm going to note it now in case I forget. The Doctor has a red variant of her top, which I think is quite smart. I don't know if they're doing the same thing that they've done before with 10 and 11, where if they're going forward, it's one colour. If they're going backwards, it's another colour. If they're going to space something else. But that'd be interesting. So, yes, the Doctor has a different colour top, which is cool. The red really suits her. Yeah, so this is where we get a really nice moment between Yaz and Ryan, who have hidden behind a already established, what do you call it, skip, like a biffer type thing. Dumpster, there you go. And that's when they're discussing, like, because previously Ryan was like, when they got kicked out of the restaurant, they were like, oh, I can, these people live this. I'm sure I can survive for a couple of hours. Oh, I can survive for a couple of hours. Oh, someone's back. Hello. I can survive, can't I? And he's like, fine. But then later on, after a few more things and like seeing whites only written everywhere, he and Yaz like talk about the fact that Grace did try and give him a sense of pride and history and all this stuff. And yeah, it's a really sweet moment. And this is the point where Ryan says to him, you can't tell me you don't get some hassle. And yeah, I get called Packy or terrorist or all this stuff. So that was a really nice moment between them. I think some people have commented before that Yaz seemed a bit superfluous in not the first episode, but like the second episode. Is like she seems to be the one that's not quite fitting, or seems if there's one companion that's a bit not, she's it. But I think she's fitting in really good. I really like Yaz. I think she's doing she fits in really nice, and her interactions with Ryan are really sweet. She gets on well with the Doctor. So yeah, they're both dealing with racism head on in their own ways, but obviously Ryan's getting it worse. So yeah, they work out what's going on. They make a timeline for Rosa, Ms. Parks, what's happening with her day, or should be happening with her day. They do some investigating where they get the bus timetables, and they find out who the it's James Blake, isn't it? Blake the Snake. So obviously Graham being a bus driver, he sort of knows all the Blarney and goes and tracks them all down. And basically the bad guy is trying to affect everything. He's trying to say, well, if I change this, then that can't happen. If I change this, then that can't happen. And they have to basically go down the line to fix everything that he's broken. So yeah, Graham ends up playing snooker with Jim Blake, and he's basically saying, oh yeah, I've got the day off tomorrow, I'm going to be going here. And like, what? So which leads to a great scene later on where, they Graham and Ryan go to the creek where James said he was going to go fishing, and they basically be themselves, with Ryan being like, oh, this is really beautiful here, we might be here all day. So basically making him feel really uncomfortable, making him go away. Basically, you might as well go back to work, especially with the sit-ins that are going to be happening. All these coloured folk are going to be, protesting your buses. He's like, no, on my watch, it's not, blah, blah, blah. So he goes off, and then the baddie's done more stuff and different things. So he wrecks the bus, but they managed to fix the bus. He put signs up on the route, and Ryan goes down the route trying to fix it all. So yeah, basically there's a whole lot of let's fix the problem. Ryan gets a great scene, as I said before, where he's the one that sends the baddie back into the past, because he tries standing in the middle of the road where the route bus would go through. So that's really cool. Hello. Does anyone know what the next episode is about? I watched it on iPlayer's Internet. I don't know what the next episode's about, but it's to do with evil spiders. That's all I can say. I think they might actually get home, because Jess says we're back, and then I can't remember her name. She was in Dinner Ladies, another very regulation. I think she was also in Coronation Street. So something to do with Yaz going home, seeing her parents again, or at least her mum, and evil spiders. So no, I don't know what it's about. So yeah, so they managed to fix everything, and they get to the point on the end where the bus isn't full enough. The whole point is, if you don't know, obviously I'm assuming anyone who's in the spoiler zone watched the episode, but if you're watching this just to watch it, then cool. But the whole thing was Rosa Parks did not refuse to stand up when give up her seat, and they realised that in order to keep the bus full, to keep the bus with the right number of people on it. Sorry, it went away before I could read it. In order to keep the bus full, they have to stay on it. And Graham's like, I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to be part of this. And the doctor's like, no, you have to not help her. So she basically does her one woman sit down protest. And they're all, because she's had loads of interactions with them at this point. And, I think she probably thinks they're a little bit strange. But, they think, so I'm forgetting something. And I apologise because it's kind of an important moment. The first night, they follow her and they get on a bus and talk to her. And then Ryan follows her home. And she's like, why are you following me? Why are you a spy of the FBI or something? And I said, no, if I was a spy, I would be able to follow you without being caught. And I wouldn't be British. And, I wouldn't be black. All this stuff. So he ends up, he says, I want to help you, with the fight. So she says, okay, how are you good at you serving coffee? And she basically brings him into this meeting of people and she said, oh, he could be like a youth person in our movement. And Martin Luther King's there amongst other people. And he's like, Martin Luther King, you're Martin Luther King. And he's like having this really big gushy moment, which I could, meet Dr. King. I think that is genuinely awesome. And he's so in awe. And he keeps referring to, oh, yeah, thank you, Martin Luther King. Oh, thank you, Rosa Parks. He's really kind of, it was really sweet. And he said, oh, my nan loves you. And he's like, oh, thank you, son. Did she go to this, I can't remember the name, but this particular ministry? Because the other guys tease him about, oh, you'll never be short of a grey hair in your ministries. The old ladies love you. And he's like, actually, my nan died recently. And he's like, oh, condolences, all this stuff. So it's a really nice moment between the two of them. And then we cut to the end of the meeting. What did you think of the political message? I'll get back to that in a second. So we cut to the end of the meeting where they are, Miss Parks and Ryan are talking, and she's like, did you find what you're looking for? He's like, when I went in, I didn't know what I was looking for, but now I think I have. And, basically Ryan ended up inspiring Rosa Parks, who was kind of, like I said, he didn't fully understand who she was at the beginning because he missed that part, because she's American and he's British. So it's not that he didn't respect her once he understood what it was she did. It was just as a child, he didn't pay attention. So, so that's the thing. So, we get to the end, and obviously she's pulled off the bus. They're all kind of stood there, not saying anything because they can't. But as she goes off the bus and walks past Ryan, he sort of puts his hand on the window, and he's like, she looks up and sort of nods at him. So, they actually sort of became part of history, which that's happened before. There's been quite a few stories where the Doctor and their companions have been accidentally or otherwise part of the thing. I mean, I'm thinking of Damn it, it's gone from my head. The Fifth Doctor story, the one with the pterodactyls and Pudding Lane. Yeah, that was an episode. But that one. Bug. I hate it when I can't remember the episode names. It'll come back to me. I didn't see the whole question. Sorry, it flashed up too fast. Can I make it come back? Oh, here we go. What do you think of the political message behind the bin? I thought it was okay, not too forced. So far, so good. Is all I can say about it at this point. Thank you, Cadbury. So was it basically Father's Day? Yeah, I did talk about that a little bit, Cadbury. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and the political messaging on it. I felt it was on point, but yeah, not too forced. I think it made a lot of I genuinely thought it was a really sweet moment between them, and the whole part about, you know, in 50 years from now they're going to have a black president. Who knows where they're going to be in 50 years beyond that. I will admit, while I get what Yaz was saying about, in 50 years they have a black president. Yes, they do. And 8 years after that, they have a complete fill in the blank. So, yeah, that I liked. Right, now I realise I can do this. Any other... Oh, I zoomed in. I can't go... So, yeah, Michael, Cadbury's... Okay, so it's mostly Cadbury today. Yeah, have I zoomed in? What have I done? I don't know. I've changed it! Oh, well, it can stay like that for now. Yes, so I will say... I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. Very, like I said, the ending was really effective. It really, I was like, didn't cry, but I was like, wow, okay, this is a thing. Yeah. There's a really sweet moment at the end where she takes him off into space and points out this particular asteroid, and she gives its official designation, aka Rosa Parks. So there's a big spatial object flying her out there, you know, with her name on it. I think it was really, really sweet. But yeah, the ending started, as like I said, a little bit on the nose, a little bit in your face with the messaging and explaining everything. Not in a terrible way, you know, in a way that would be understandable for the younger members of the audience. You have your sort of action adventure shenanigans in the middle with, you know, the altercation with them and the bad guy fixing all the problem, like quantum leaping the way through to fix everything and make it all happen. And then you have an ending that is really, for my part, genuinely affecting, genuinely quite heartfelt, I felt. And yeah, nice little sort of things between them, and like sort of going on with it. And she does explain basically that you know, Ms. Parks doesn't have a good life, that she does have a hard time going forward, but that within a year they stopped segregation on the buses, and she basically summarizes everything. And yeah, so it worked. Brilliant. Is it brilliant? Is it good? So far, for this run so far, I would say, yeah, honestly, I think it's definitely the stronger one so far. I don't know if I'm going to rank them or anything later on. It's hard to sort of, because we've got a contemporary, futuristic, and historical. I will say this: I did like the fact they all stayed together for most of the episode, rather than sort of and they split off a little bit afterwards. And I do think they're gelling well as a team. They're really starting to get a bit of banter. Obviously, they kind of all knew each other, but bantering with the Doctor a little bit and sort of teasing her about not getting them home. Out of 3 episodes so far, is it the best one so far? I think in terms of plotting, it's, you know, it felt good. The ending song during the credits wasn't needed. Come on, this is... You know what? The song didn't bother me. I was listening to it, I was thinking, I'll be honest, I was still trying to look up the thingy on my iPad, and I was on my device, sorry, it's not an iPad, and setting up the tweet to say about doing the stream. So I didn't notice the lack of theme tune. I noticed the pretty music and the nice song, and I don't think it really bothered me. I don't think I'm gonna have to. Yeah, fair enough. I'll probably have to go back and rewatch at least the end credits and sort of see. But I thought it was kind of pretty. I didn't. It didn't occur to me that it wasn't the proper music. So, for what that's worth, but yeah, I liked it. I think pacing wise, because you had your sort of setup, exposition, you had your little bit shenanigans, and then you had your sort of heartfelt bit at the end. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the top 3 episodes of the series so far. I guess it's like, is this? It's the first one that, well, I would say is properly standalone, because obviously the ending of the pilot led into the second episode, and they kind of sort of interlinked with each other with the race that was involved. I think I would rewatch. I haven't so far this season. I haven't rewatched any of them yet. I think this one I would rewatch first. If I was when I'm watching the show, I tend to watch the whole series, and then if I feel like it, once I've got the DVDs, then I'll go back and revisit them. I very rarely rewatch an episode whilst the show's running, unless it's like an older episode. But within the season, I very rarely rewatch an episode back. I can see myself watching this one again whilst the show's still running through. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah, I've been talking a long time. My throat is hurting. I still have a daily vlog to record, and I've pretty much run out of things to say. So yes. Rosa Parks, co-written by this lady. I liked it. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was too heavy-handed with the politics, and I would recommend it to. I'd recommend it. It's a good episode and a good intro. For my own part, outside of knowing the name and the fact that she was the lady on the bus who didn't give up a seat, I knew very little about Rosa Parks. So for me, it was also educational, which is what you want. So I'm going to say goodnight now. Thank you to everyone who has watched live. Completely appreciate it, especially everyone who decided to have a little chat with me. That's always appreciated. I thank you. Oh, one person's just come in as I'm saying goodbye. I still appreciate you being here. You that's really sweet of you to be here. So I hope you've enjoyed the show. This ramble. Feel free to share any thoughts in the comments. I've been Michelle. You've been listening, and I will see you next week. Bye!